Here's another episode of Does a 4-inch 9mm rival a snub-nose 357 Magnum? And today what I have is Hornady critical duty ammunition. This is very interesting ammunition, and what I really want to find out today, and the most interesting thing I want to find out is, does this particular 357 Magnum in a snub-nose, will it match the exterior and the terminal ballistics of the 9mm? And why that's so significantly important is that the 9mm critical duty, and this is the 135 grain plus P, this is the official load of the FBI currently, and one of their official handguns is the 4-inch Glock 19M, I believe it's called. So any type of ballistics we're going to get, this is going to match the FBI 100%. Now, the 357 Magnum is also a 135 grain bullet. So if we can get roughly the same amount of velocity, we can kind of expect to see kind of the same performance as the 9mm. And that'll be interesting that you could have basically 9mm FBI ballistics in a snub-nose revolver. And what's interesting about the critical duty bullet itself is the core is not a soft lead core. It is a little bit harder lead. They have antimony in it. The jacket is a little bit thicker as well. And we can see right here we have a band at the bottom of the bullet. This happens to be a 45 caliber bullet I pulled, because you can see it a little bit easier. So that band right there kind of bonds the jacket to the bullet. And another interesting fact is we have a cannelure here. We have a cannelure even on the 9mm. Typically a cannelure is for a revolver cartridge, so that you can crimp the case mouth into the bullet. But they still feature it on the semi-automatic cartridge, and I believe the reason for that is they put sealant on these, and you can see the primer, there's a little bit of red sealant there, and they also seal the bullet at the top end, and I believe that they use that cannelure even on the automatic cartridge to put sealant on it. So this bullet, these rounds are watertight rounds of ammunition. So the 357 Magnum, it's rated at 1275 feet per second, and I believe I got 1290 last year in a 4-inch barrel. And then the 135 grain 9mm is rated at 1115, and last year I got about 1050 or so feet per second. So last time I tested this, I went through like sheet metal, try to simulate like a car door, and I didn't test it in my current setup. But my current setup, and we're going to go through the chronograph, see what kind of accuracy and velocity we get at the same time, and then we're going to go through the Juggernaut box, which is 4 layers of denim, followed by 1 3/4 inches of bologna to simulate flesh, followed by 3/8 inch particle board to simulate ribs or sternum, and then to water jugs to catch it. So what this round is supposed to do is it's supposed to kind of defeat hard barriers and still have controlled expansion. Well, my last test I didn't have the particle board there, so I'm thinking maybe we might get good performance through that particle board, aka ribs, sternum, that we might not get with pure lead rounds that are not designed for hard barrier penetration. So let's run these rounds through the chronograph. Let's see what kind of accuracy they get, and then we'll hit the Juggernaut box and see what kind of performance we get. So let's get started with the test. Alright, 9mm critical duty. We're about 5 yards away. We're going to see what kind of velocity we get and what kind of accuracy at the same time. So rated at 1115, and you would think it would be through a 4-inch barrel, since that's what the FBI carries a lot of times. So let's see what kind of velocity we're getting. 1045, 1054, 1067, no read, 1065, 1046. So pretty similar to what we were getting last year when I tested this ammunition, a little bit below, quite a bit below rated velocity. We'll see how the 357 Magnum compares in velocity and accuracy through the snub-nose barrel. Can we get around 1050 feet per second? Because the bullet's the same weight, we should have similar energy if we can match that velocity. So let's try. Alright, snub-nose revolver, Taurus 605. 5 rounds of 357 Magnum, critical duty, 135 grain. See what kind of velocity and accuracy we get. $11.70. $11.94. $11.87. $11.91. $11.60. Recoil was somewhat manageable. It wasn't all that bad. I've certainly felt a lot worse rounds as far as recoil. Yet the velocity is over 100 feet per second more than the 9mm. So we should see different results on the Juggernaut box, what it does to the bologna and water. So let's try and see what the difference is between the 9mm and the 357 Magnum is with the critical duty. I'm really interested to see what kind of results we're going to get. So let's get started. Alright, 9mm, 135 grain plus P critical duty. We'll see what we get through my Juggernaut box. Pretty good damage to the first jug I can see from here. Looks like I may have shot a little bit to the right or left, but where it hit, very good damage. Took the big chunk out of it. And through the particle board, right through, nothing to write home about with that, just a hole right through it. Now let's see what we got in water jugs. First jug is just absolutely destroyed. That's pretty good for a 9mm. Jug 2, we went right through it. See a hole in jug 3. And I see a mark in jug 4, but it's not leaking. However, the bullet is not in jug 3. The bullet is just laying on the bottom of the Juggernaut. So what we did is we hit the 4th jug and it bounced off the 4th jug apparently and landed in the box. And here we are. We got basically perfectly ideal controlled expansion. It looks exactly like the way they're supposed to look. A little bit more damage to the bullet on the lead than what you would see through pure ballistics gel or just water, but pretty similar expansion. Now let's try the 357 Magnum and see how that compares. Alright, 357 Magnum, will that extra 100 feet per second on the same weight bullet make a difference? We'll find out. So here we go. I made a clean shot and it removed a lot of the bologna from the pack. Right through the denim here. And it looks like the first half of the pack of the bologna, not much damage, and then the second half it started to expand and rip through it. Exit in the particle board looks a little bit bigger than the 9mm. Now let's see what we got in water jugs. Jug 1 looks similar to the 9mm, maybe a little bit more damage than the 9mm, but not a lot. Jug 2, we went right through that. I've seen impact in jug 3. And it looks like we passed through the 3rd jug. I see an impact in jug 4. And we have the bullet in jug 4. No damage out the bat. So just a little bit more penetration in comparison to the 9mm. And slightly more deformation. Not enough to really say this one's bigger or smaller from first glance. Looks like we might be losing some lead here. And we ripped off part of a pedal with some of that lead. But overall, most of that bullet's there. We certainly didn't get jacket separation, and it's all there. So overall, this ammunition seems to perform pretty well in both cartridges. Quite a bit lower than rate of velocity in the 9mm, but you know, FBI has been one of those agencies that historically wants something great, and then they keep bringing the power level down. but it still performs pretty well. We still got above average penetration compared to a lot of cartridges I test, because it essentially damaged the fourth jug, typically with 9mm. We'll be lucky to get into the third. So a little bit more penetration through the hard barrier of the particle board pretty easily. The 357 Magnum did quite well as well. It went right through everything pretty well, and the recoil was pretty manageable. It wasn't too much really in that snub nose revolver. So I think it's kind of interesting that Hornady still produces a revolver round for basically law enforcement. You don't see that very typically anymore. There's very few companies that will do something like that, but they're putting their modern technology into a revolver cartridge. They don't do it with the 38 Special, probably because it wouldn't defeat those barriers and wouldn't have enough energy to expand. It's a hard core lead. But 357 Magnum has the power to do it, so that's probably why they put it in the 357 Magnum. And also in the 45 Auto, you see it as a plus P rather than just a standard pressure. So I think that hard core of antimony, it needs a little bit more power to expand, but the 9mm did it fine, even on its average, mid 300 foot-pound energy range. So I would say overall it's pretty good ammunition on both these platforms. So tell me what you think in the comments below, and as always, comment, share, and like, and thanks for watching.